Hello! In the previous video and over a series of blog posts, we built a network-attached storage solution using a Raspberry Pi, some hard drives and a software called Greyhole. But now we've got all our hard drives just lying around, which really doesn't look good. So in this video, we're building a case for our NAS. I started off by doing a rough cut design to get an idea of the dimensions of the walls and to get models for all the parts I'm going to 3D print. These large boxes you see here are just placeholders for the Raspberry Pi and for the USB hub. Those are not the actual sizes, but rather a bounding box that includes some extra space that I want to leave around those components. So first I printed the corners that connect the walls, and while that's printing I got started on the actual walls. I'm making them out of plywood. So first I measure and cut the wood to size, so we've got our 6 walls. I'm using a miter joint because I really like the way it looks, and I make 45-degree angles using a router. I'm doing it in steps, so only a little wood is taken away at a time. With that done, we can start screwing together the box to see if everything fits. One of my walls was a bit too short and not all of the edges fit together perfectly. So I had to redo that piece. Okay, so 5 of the walls are firmly connected with screws. The other wall should be relatively easy to remove if I need to access the devices inside. Initially I used magnets to hold it in place, which worked, but it didn't feel as sturdy as I would have liked. So later on, after the video, I ended up replacing them with a simple screw mechanism. The next step is to print mounting brackets for our hard drives, for the Raspberry Pi and for the USB hub, and to fit them to our box. I made the bracket for the USB hub a bit shorter, so when it's screwed in, it's tight and the USB hub can't slip out. Since it can get quite hot inside the case, especially during summer, I installed a fan and a temperature sensor. For the ventilation system, I cut 2 holes on each end of the box. The fan is mounted in one of the holes and it will suck in air. Initially I wanted to cut ventilation slits into the wall on the other end of the box, but that didn't look so good. So instead I cut a hole and I 3D printed a part to partially cover it. Now's a good time to apply some paint. I got this moss green color, which I really like, and I put 2 coatings on each of the walls. Also I cut a hole for the power cords and I 3D printed a cover for them. You may have noticed that I forgot to make space for the Ethernet cable, so that's something I'll have to fix later. Now we can put the case back together and install our electronics. I also installed an LED and a push button. The LED indicates if the Raspberry Pi is running, and the button can be used to power it off. The 2.5-inch HDDs are a bit too short for the drive holder, so I added a little support piece that slides in behind them. I also replaced the corners on the bottom with new ones, to which I attached these felt pads, because otherwise the screw heads would scratch the floor. I took a little shortcut with the Ethernet cable by just cutting a small hole into the cover of the ventilation slits. It's not ideal, but it's in the back where you really can't see it, and more importantly, the case is for my personal use, not for somebody else, so I'll just leave it as it is. Anyway, as a finishing touch, I wanted to add some writing to the case. So I printed some stencils, attached them to the case with a light adhesive, which can be removed later on, and then I sprayed them with some white paint. Without the adhesive, the color can spread underneath the stencil, which doesn't look good. Here's an example of what it looked like without the adhesive. And now our case is ready. A little bit of the white color did spill into the green, but I think it looks alright. So the only thing left to do is to add the code to control the temperature the temperature sensor, the fan, the status light and the power button. If you're interested in the codes, there's a link to them given below. And this is it. This is what it looks like in my living room. Thanks for watching.